Good afternoon. Hello, everybody, wherever you are. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. This is 2A Radio. We are broadcasting from Pennsylvania in the United States of America. Today is the sixth edition of Constitution Laws and You. There's no way you can live in a society without trying to find out whether or not your actions is in compliance or is in um, whether your actions, your day-to-day activities are in full conformity with the laws of the society in which you live. It is that backdrop that we at 2A Radio, we have decided to run this program, Constitution, Laws, and You. We say you because it is your action that the laws, you should always make sure that you live in conformity with what the law says. And it's that backdrop for which we bring you the Liberian Constitution. Discussing the Liberian Constitution is the primary objective of this program. Join us wherever you are. Share our video. We would appreciate that you do all you can to join us on wherever you are. Okay, so we want to say thank you so much for joining us. Those of you who are joining us at the stage, those of you who still following us, we want to say thank you so much. Once again, the Constitution of Liberia is to be distributed to all Liberians. And the Constitution is supposed to be taught in all schools within the Republic of Liberia. It is that backdrop from which we at 2A Radio, we are discussing the Constitution. We started with the preamble of the Constitution. The preamble set a stage of everything that is within the Constitution. We went from Article 1. Right now we are at Article 21. We're trying to conclude Article 21 and join into Article 26. We hope we can conclude that today. Well, this program is co-presented Arthur Johnson, Councillor Arthur Johnson and I, we present this program, meaning we are the discussant on this program. But there's a lot of things going on in Liberia, so we were not able to get to Arthur today. So we continue the discussion. We have this program every Wednesdays and Fridays. So we are not going to waste the time. Whenever you have the opportunity to join us, let's discuss. You have questions about the Constitution, we will be glad that you come and raise those issues. We also will be glad to join you in giving an explanation as to what the Constitution says as to a particular action. So today we are looking at Article 21. We did not conclude on Article 21 the last time. So today we are looking at Article 22, continuing the discussion. Continuing discussion with Article 21. Okay, and continuation, we're talking about the prohibition of double jeopardy. We talk about the rights to examine evidence, witnesses, right to fair trial. We talk about presumption of innocence in trials, right to public trial, and right to counsels. Okay, let's see whether we can look at the Constitution itself. That's Article 21, right? Article 21. Article 21 of the Liberian Constitution provides, oh my God, forgive me, trying to do something else here. We're trying to look at Article 21, and forgive me, let me pull it out quickly. Article 21, we started discussing Article 21 already, and so we go to 21H. Very good. 21H, what does it say? Article 21H, it says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or infamous crime except in cases of impeachment. Now, you know about impeachment already, right? You can impeach a president. If assuming the president did something wrong, there's nothing he can do. You cannot take him and dragging the court like that. There are procedural steps, and the framework of the Constitution laid down that step. So it said no person shall be held to answer for a capital or infamous crime. What is a capital offense? What is an infamous crime? Okay, except in cases of impeachment. Cases arising in the armed forces and petty offenses, unless honor indictment by grand jury, and in all such cases, the accused shall have the right to a speedy, public, and impartial trial by a jury of the vicinity, unless such person shall with appropriate understanding expressly waive the right to a jury trial. In all criminal cases, the accused shall have the right to be represented by counsel of his choice, to confront witnesses against him, and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. So, in short, what we are understanding from this provision is that there's an issue of double jeopardy. The first thing we say is, before there's capital offenses and infamous crimes, like in the case of president, chief justice, associate justices, judges of court, there are certain acts they, whenever they fall short or they commit certain crime, let's say for argument's sake, there was some felonious act on the part of the president or the chief justice, the hypothetical situation, right? These people, the national legislature, they are clothed with the authority to impeach. So if it is not a capital or infamous crime that should be impeachment should be carried out, or other crime that is committed, um, offenses committed, like petty offenses, there must be an opportunity for an indictment to be drawn. Now, indictment is where the state, uh, you know, probably arrest somebody for certain act, and then you get all out there and want to take an action. How do you go about doing it? The first thing is, like, if I would bring to your attention just what is happening in the United States, is very similar to what we're discussing here. For example, if Donald Trump right now talking about what other people saying, should we indict the president? Or what happened? You don't just go and arrest the president. When there's an indictment, put into place, you go to the grand jury present all of the facts before the grand jury take a decision to, come down with an indictment. Without the indictment, under the circumstances, the person is brought before the court for a proper trial. But when that is done, what is the next thing to do? That person must have a right to a lawyer. You must have, we said it from the previous discussion. You, as a citizen of Liberia, the Constitution provides that for you. You have absolute right to a trial. You have a right, if you get a lawyer and you have that lawyer knows exactly what to do, you have a right to examine pieces of evidence that is laid down against. Let's say the indictment is drawn, and the indictment is served on a party. That party lawyer look at the indictment and then be prepared to challenge the indictment through court, or be prepared to go to court and then issue trial. So in all of these situations, this provision of the Constitution not laying down the procedural aspects of what happened in the courtroom. But what they take away from this provision is that you have a right to a fair trial, all right, no matter who it is. You don't just get up after an indictment or after an arrest or after allegations and you think someone is found guilty, like what is going on right now. You have 3 officials of government that are being accused. Okay, the American government say these people are corrupt. They are carrying on public corruption. So those allegations are as serious as they are. These people have right to a fair trial. Assuming the government want to go into these things, the Attorney General probably could be directed by the president, to ensure full investigation. Like the President Weah's statement, he only called for an investigation. How that is going to be happening, he did not say it. Is it that he's going to set up a committee or a commission to investigate, these officials? Or is it like he's going to direct the Attorney General? Or is it that because the president has spoken that there must be an investigation, the Attorney General is going to take charge, to ensure fair trial for these persons, to do an investigation? Because normally, like the Liberal National Police or the Justice Department will do a thorough investigation. Maybe they can ask the United States government to provide some of the pieces of evidence they have in their possession. And because the fact that you're talking about fair trial, it means then these people are not guilty. The three officials, Nathaniel Mangiel, how you call him, Bill Trawe, and Serena Seaforth, the Solicitor General, the man who's supposed to be prosecuting, he now supposed to be investigated, and probably someone else going to prosecute him. So it's a very interesting drama going on in Liberia. So for this purpose, we emphasize this provision. These people are in trying for perfect timing for us discussing this and seeing what is happening in Liberia, right? The Constitution says all persons, no person shall be held to answer for a capital offense or any other crime without giving that persons their due right, due process, fair trial. All right. This person, the Constitution says they are presumed to be what? Innocent. All right. They are presumed to be innocent after trial, before you can say whether they are found guilty or not. So you can say, oh, these people are thieves, or these people are inherently corrupt. It is an allegation. The United States government has said they have evidence that these people are involved in public corruption. Because of that, they have sanctioned them. The American government don't just get up and say something. So it's very well believed that the United States government has credible evidence, best evidence that can indict these people. All right. So how the government is going to approach it, we're going to follow that. But for purposes of discussion here, we just want to say all persons under this article, under this provision, Article 21H, anyone that is accused has a right to a fair trial. All right. And that person is presumed to be innocent until found guilty. Okay. So when you have, let's set a stage, like the government and looking at the fight before us, like the current government, we wants to investigate the matter. He probably doing behind the scenes discussion. The Attorney General is going to go straight out and probably invite these persons. Justice Minister Musa Dane could invite his then Solicitor General, would say, or still Solicitor, he's still the Solicitor General, but the only problem is he's suspended. He's not yet, his position has not been relinquished. Until the president can dismiss him, he's still the Solicitor General, suspended. Solicitor General suspended. So we can qualify that. He's the Solicitor General, but yet on suspension. All right. So he has a right to be heard. So how are you going to proceed about it? There are two things involved. And I don't know how the government going to attack the sanction is on their presence. So if the sanction is on their presence, but because they occupy I listened to the ambassador, okay, the U.S. ambassador, I listened to him. He was saying, well, the sanction is on their presence. So even if the lead position, so it means these individuals individually will have to approach the sanction, those responsible for maybe sanction that place a sanction on them. They will have to approach and have to fight in their individual capacity to see whether they can the sanction can be lifted on them. But it's not easy stuff, right? Either they're going to hire lawyers or they're going to do some diplomatic discussions. Provided if the gravity is not as serious, they can do some diplomatic engagement. But as it is, and that diplomatic engagement should have been ever since the time the United States was sending a lot of signal. You had the administrative assistant to the president who went to Liberia, I think, doing one of the, I think had a last Independent Day message or something, and talk about corruption. The U.S. ambassador, oh my God. Okay, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, she also spoke, Greenfield, she also spoke about that, corruption. So the government should have taken cue. But our discussion, we're not going to so we're not going to lose focus here, right? So we're going to be looking at our purpose here today is to look at what Article 21 says. This is a continuation of this. So we're talking about prohibition of double jeopardy. Double jeopardy is that's for when you start a trial. When that trial ends, you cannot go back with the same party, the same case, and begin to seek another trial on the person if there's a case about. What is more important is that every person is entitled to a fair trial. Accusation is not an end in itself. When you accuse a person, that person will be given the right to a fair trial. Okay. When that person is on trial, the person has the right to examine all the pieces of evidence. Like, for example, some people want to say, well, I want to see the evidence. Why do you say I'm inherently correct? I want to see it, but it is up to him. He need to request the U.S. government to say, well, we want to see the piece of evidence. If he has a lawyer, probably a lawyer going to go there. But what we say under Labrador law, let's also be mindful. The U.S. sanctions are not the application of U.S. sanction is an international law issue. It's not going to be, you're not going to use Liberian laws to say, well, the father have right to fair trial. If the government want to take seize of this and find out the facts, the Liberian government think that the allegation level is so serious, and some of the things that have been said in the sanction, they decide to link that and really find out that indeed there has been a high level of corruption in the country by these individuals, the government can decide to prosecute these persons. But until then, the suspension, maybe the president will dismiss them. After then they could begin to prosecute them. We don't know how you're going to go. Whether they're going to prosecute them, the important takeaway from our discussion is that these persons have a right to fair trial, and they have a right to examine the witness, the pieces of evidence, and the witnesses that the people having. They have all right. And I think since like they have one lawyer among them, right? Serena Sifo is the lawyer. He probably knows exactly what to do in fighting his case. On the other hand, you have other people are money people now. They have sufficient money to hire lawyers to fight their case. But for our discussion here, one of the major takeaways that no person is accused and the person is found guilty without the presumption that this person is innocent and that this person must be given fair trial. Right to public trial. Now, the right to public trial, there is the courts are the primary way of going toward doing these things. There are some administrative decisions that could be taken in the process of giving people, fair trial. And the best way out is to allow the Justice Ministry to act. The Justice Ministry act, and then you have the government that will, the police will forward these persons to a court, and the court process will go about, or there could be an indictment drawn, on these persons individually. And I don't think in any case it can be a collective action. They are individuals. They are designated persons, so they are being characterized as to getting involved, the extent of their involvement, if there's any collaboration, maybe if the government open an investigation, either there will be some other parties that will be brought into for questioning, and if there are probable reason and probable cause for these persons to be prosecuted along with these three persons, then of course the government can go right on. But for this purpose, we're talking about the presumption of being innocent until proven guilty. Now, this case involving the government officials, it has an international flavor. It is the U.S. government that have taken action. So the U.S. government, by and large, are the one who's supposed to lift the sanction. So maybe if you show trial and they are found not guilty, but out of there's a fair trial and they are found not guilty, either the government itself could represent these people, or these people could use the court record to request the United States government to lift the sanction. Or maybe as time goes on, their activity, their involvement, their engagement, they could see that, okay, maybe in a year or so, they could lift the sanction. But one thing that is sure is that when the United States places a sanction, it's not as easy as anyone would think. All right, so we take note of that. Okay, the person has a right to counsel. We have said that already. Previous discussion, we said that the due process clause within the Constitution, there's nobody that should be tried without having a right to a lawyer. Okay, and so one of the important consideration of our discussion today has to do with property right and in natural resources. What do we mean? What the Constitution says about the right for someone to acquire a property. These things, there are statutory consideration and there are big picture that you and I will have to look at every time. When you are living a life in a certain society, you always fight hard to understand what law says, what are the obligations that you have. All right. So you're not going to sit and pretend like you don't know what is going on around you. Everybody that live, you fight to get a piece of property, and then you have a right to a piece of property. But what does the law says about a piece of property that you get? Under Article 22, it says every person shall have the right to own property alone as well as an association with others. All right. And like you have maybe a business entity, right? Like you have a corporate entity, or you have a corporation, or you have running some business and you want to buy a property as a corporate body or as a organization, you can decide to purchase property on the Liberian law, on the Constitution provides that right. All right. And as a person, you have a right also to own property, provided that only Liberian citizens shall have the right to own real property within the republic. Now, this is another issue. You got to realize that we had an issue of dual citizenship coming into the picture, and here they say they did not say dual citizenship. They say only Liberian citizens have a right to own property. It is then assumed that let us assume the law is what it is, and then of course people will also have right. Those who will have dual citizenship will also have right to own property because then they become citizen too of Liberia. All right. So Article 22 is a very important aspect, and there's a whole book, law book on property law. All right, and people go to law school to study about property law. So when you have a property law issue, you must be prepared to find the best of lawyer. Not everybody is a property lawyer. Not every lawyer, rather, is a property lawyer. So, but for purposes of the Constitution, just to give you a clue as to your right to own property as a Liberian citizen. All right, nobody can tell you say you cannot own. So let's say, for example, why if you want to buy a piece of land, okay, and the government says you can't buy the property with no justifiable reason. Okay, another thing is you are denied from buying property, maybe for whatever reason, or maybe you have some low difficult, like in the case of the dual citizenship. I'm sure there will be a lot of cases that will come out as a result of that. Somebody went and bought a piece of land, maybe the person found the person is an American citizen, right? And then they say, okay, the person doesn't have a right to own property here. The person said, no, I have the right. The dual citizenship law getting the right to enjoy these things. So there will be a lot of factual situation that will require, you hiring a lawyer, assuming you had any situation like that. Or you have people challenging you for a piece of property. It's not just the all you know, if you are a citizen, you have a right to property. That's what the Constitution is saying here. And that's what we want to emphasize here. You have a right as a Liberian citizen to purchase any property in Liberia. And even as an organization or as a corporate body, you have a right as a group to also purchase a piece of property. We're going to get to understand further what it means for other people. So it's a private property right. However, private property rights, however, shall not extend to any mineral resources on or beneath any land or to any land on the sea and waterways of the Republic. All mineral resources in and under the seas and other waterways shall belong to the Republic and used by and for the entire Republic. So this is a very important aspect too. Okay, and why if you bought a piece of property and you found out there is mineral, you get gold on the land, you get diamonds on the land, you get gas on the ground, you get bauxite, or you have minerals of any kind on the piece of property you found. Let us say you went to a place and then You begin to discover that there's gold on your land. Gold is a common mineral that we all know about in Liberia, right? Gold and diamond. You find out that the mineral is, I mean, the news go all over. Oh, there's Jensen land. Oh, that is, guess what? Jensen want to go plant his potato. When he goes to where he just dug the ground, you saw a lot of gold. It's the entire place. The house that he's in, everything is a lot of gold there. What happened? Suppose the government came to take charge of that place. What will happen? This is a good hypothetical situation, right? Somebody will say, I put my dead body before you take my gold, right? But the law is saying the gold not for you. The gold that under the ground is not for you. The gold under the land belongs to the government, right? Or the gas you found under the land belongs to the government. The diamond way you find belongs to the government. So there is this. This is nothing that you can take this law lightly. This is where it is very important that you understand what the law provides. Okay. Okay. It is important that we understand the right to a property. You have a right to buy a piece of property. So if somebody will ask a question, what? Somebody pay for my land and I survey my land and everything. The mineral form under the ground is on my land. All right. What happens? Is the mineral on the ground for you? That's why you need, if you haven't known that, you should know now that even though you bought the land, even though you survey your land, the government has given you the deed, but anything on that land in the waterway is not for you, it's for the government of Liberia. And if for the government of Liberia, it's for you and all other citizens within the Republic of Liberia. The mineral on your land, you have a share in it. When I say share, because they say what is for the republic, is for everyone within the republic. That's what the law says. So then it means then the government should not deprive you of the right. And this is where reasonable mind come in. The land is for you. The government knows the Constitution gives them the right to own that property, to own, minerals on the natural resources on that land. So what happens? The government must be reasonable enough, to compensate you in such way. If it means they had to relocate you and then to mine the resources on that ground, they will have to do that. We got to know what the law says. There's a law. There's also a further explanation as to what the government can do to give you some privilege, in enjoying some of the resources that is placed, on that is found on the ground. Okay, you just don't get up and say you are denied your right because the law say the property not for you or for the government. So the government they just say, come off, get from here. You have this time to move. You don't move, we bring bulldozer and break your house and start to mine this place. That's not how a civilized government. That's not how people treat their citizens. All right, everybody will have to respect, the right of everyone. Okay, so when you have these kinds of situation, the first thing you do is to hire a lawyer. Let's say, for example, you found a piece of land, uh, piece of land on the ground. The best decision you can do is, okay, I found a land. Maybe the best you can do, a very smart person do, to you go and get a mining license. You get a mining license, maybe they don't know about it. You get a mining license, and the government then authorizes you to mine in a particular locale. You're not going to tell them, say, oh, I found my land is full of gold. Maybe you get tell them, say, you know what, I want to mine this place. I need a mining license, right? And this is where lawyers will always be good to be able to guard you. All right. So you go to Lands and Mine Ministry, you tell them the place, they have a procedural step you follow. So you buy your mining license, you get a mining license for the place. Maybe you say, my whole land over there, I want to mine. I want to do prospecting to find out whether there's mineral there. So when you do all of these things now, you begin to mine, but you should also be aware with the quantity of mineral that's on your ground. Government attention could be drawn to that. When government attention is drawn to that, then of course you will have to understand that government will have to be involved. How do you go about handling such a sweet resources, your property, and the natural resources on your property? Okay. So you will have to always keep in mind that your rights provided for the Constitution, you must know where your right ends. Under this situation, under Article 22, we are clearly stating that you have a right to own property. And that right that you have, you must also be aware that when you own property, minerals that is found on that property beneath the soil, government has interest in it. And government can make a decision as to what they can say. Let's read further some other stuff here. What can I read here? Okay, and so it says further, no citizen missionary. Now this is let's do B 22B. Let's continue reading. 22B says private property rights, however, shall not extend to any mineral resources. Now that's a command. Shall not extend to any mineral resources on or beneath. Now there's somebody saying something on. I mean on the land or beneath the land, any land or to any lands on the seas and waterways of the republic. So this is a forceful provision of the Constitution. So when you have a property, when you find mineral on the property or beneath the property, you must be aware that government has interest in it. Now, this is where people sometimes say, "Oh, I found my dam. What do I do?" The best thing you can do is to approach the mineral, the Lands and Mine Ministry. Now, this is where sometimes too people must be aware that you need honest people in these positions. People have to be very reasonable when they're reaching, the kind of a decision. Or the man, very honest, he found piece of gold, he found gold on his land. Is that to go to the Lands and Mine Ministry? You told them. By the time you gave a hint, then people started to fight that man. How to go about it? Don't find that man's interest, his effort, his resources he invested in that property. People just go, we got a man find property land. Now, people who may even go to protect the mineral resources on that land, beneath the land, and in all the surrounding circumstances, they don't fight for the interest of the state. People now will start mining for themselves. Like people talk about, there was some story that came from the Gbapalu end before. All right, people are mining, even the drinking water that people use in the place. The other people they don't care about the citizen well-being. Because maybe they take this, okay, as long as there is mineral here, the government has interest. Yeah, the government has interest. You have to mitigate these kind of decisions. How do we protect the life of the people? How can we how can we ensure the health of these people? So not because you have a right to mineral resources of Liberia and somebody land, they have found mineral on the land, so you just arbitrarily go and want to ooze them out. You want to get them out. You don't do that. No responsible government should do that. You must be aware how you approach the people. And there's something laid down here. We will come to that. When somebody land there's mineral fund on what the government is supposed to do. The Constitution also addresses that. All right. But importantly for this point is you have a right to a property, but be aware that minerals found on that property belongs to the government. Any mineral found on that property or even on that property belongs to the government. The government has interest. All right. All mineral resources in and on the seas and other waterways. So even if you have a piece of water that runs between your house or run behind your house or run to your village or run to a certain community, the government has interest. This is why the Liberian people will always have to find a very responsible government that will manage the resources, because these decisions are not in vacuum. It doesn't mean then that government should go and just mine those mineral resources and pocket the resources or the proceeds from there and sit as millionaires over the people. When minerals are found, the government, the citizens themselves should be running to the government. Oh, we found diamonds in this place. We found gold in this place. Or our village here, we found minerals. When that is done, the final government should use every rational thinking to let these people benefit from the resources they have discovered on that piece of property. So many people that are forefathers, they live, they work hard on the piece of land. So you don't just go because the minerals are found there. So you just say that you drive them out, or you have some kind of unknowledgeable superintendent sitting somewhere who have no idea of how property rights are to be managed and begin to unnecessarily distribute private properties. without government, giving account or managing those resources. So it's always important that when you have this kind of situation, you don't sit. The important thing is always find a lawyer. Get a lawyer quickly before people start to encroach on your right. All right, you will see what the law says. Even if government took some wrongful actions, what you can do as a citizen. There's a lot packed in here. All right. So then you say what? So any mineral farm, like you find gas, you find anything in the ocean, wherever, whatever, those minerals resources belong to the government. That's an important key issue there. Even though you're a private citizen, you have a private right to property. But when you find a property and there's mineral on there, be aware the government should be informed immediately. All right. So it is important that you know these things, your property right, and what you should do if you found a piece of property. You don't just sit down and pretend like you have, super being. You don't want to, you want to fight police. If you have police people, you have money agent that came to come ask you questions. You started demand that because you bought a piece of property, you are surveying your land, the mineral is found on your land, so they mean the mineral for you. No, it doesn't work that way. That's what the Constitution says. Why you're supposed to know your right. If you find a piece of property, what do you do next? Okay. Article 22C says non-citizen missionary, educational, and other benevolent institutions shall have the right to own property too, as long as that property is used for the purposes for which acquired. Property no longer so used shall escheat to the republic. Now, this provision is telling you, say, look, let's say you have some church people, some missionaries, people who want to build hospitals, people who want to build clinics, people who want to do some other projects. All right. They are not Liberians, right? But the fact that they want to do business, they want to build hospital, they want to build clinic, the law says they have a right to buy property. I was sitting in a meeting the field, somebody raised this argument, right? And the person said, "Oh, no foreign national has any right to buy a piece of property in Liberia." And that was a blanket statement, right? Nobody other than a Liberian citizen would buy a piece of land. A Liberian man will stay that in open discussion without even thinking beyond themselves. And because people are not taught the Constitution of Liberia, so people will talk, they kind of lose ways, without knowing what they are saying. But yes, the law now. The law says non-citizen missionaries, educational, and other benevolent institutions, meaning people who just want to do goodwill. They want to build churches, they want to build hospitals, clinics, and whatever they want to do. As long as for goodwill, it says they can buy the land. So then we ask the question, can, let's say, for example, company, non-governmental organization, like CWCE, that has all of the international partners, can they go to Liberia and buy the piece of land? The answer is yes, they can buy the piece of land. Even though they are not Liberians, but they can go and buy a piece of land. That's what the law is saying. They can go in there and purchase a land and do what they're doing. But the law says even if they have done that, the property they bought, the things they do there, anytime they are leaving Liberia, that property is cheat. I mean, it goes to government. All right. If they did build a hospital, that hospital belongs to the government. If they did build some clinic all over the country, that's what. So this is where you have people who should encourage international partners. Somebody come and do something. In fact, the best people want to do is enter into some agreement. All right, to extend their activities. So they come to go to the ministry and file the article of incorporation. They give them the basic right, and they do all they can if they want to buy a piece of land in certain part of Liberia. Maybe they're very rich for 25 years. They go through all the formality. These things are not just there's the Constitution. There are property law gave a lot of explanation as to how to go about these things. That's why people who have studied law will know exactly some of the procedural steps to take in order to protect, how missionaries and other educational or benevolent institutions can buy property. So there are two different groups that can buy property. So if you're taking an exam, how do I frame it? True or false? The Liberian Constitution says only Liberian can buy a property. True or false? Many persons who haven't read it will say, true, right? So if there was a question to say only Liberian can buy the property in Liberia, true or false? He said true. I mean, failed because it's not only Liberian. Liberian citizens can buy a piece of property and other benevolent institutions can buy property likewise. So then the two different group of persons that can buy property in Liberia. So Article 22D says the Republic may, on the basis of reciprocity, convey to a foreign government property to be used perpetually. Now, underscore the word perpetually means there's no end for its diplomatic activities. As I said, we were discussing somewhere and somebody were raising those issues, and somebody were raising issues specifically about the U.S. Embassy. In as much as we don't have the detail, but the U.S. Embassy sitting in that place, that land belongs to the American government. It means the government of yesterday, we all know the historical tie between Liberia and America. So the American government will not sit over there without acquiring that place. How it is, I don't know. I've not seen any document for that purpose and whatever. But one thing on the show is that ground, that place, it belongs to the American government. When you go there, you do anything, you are acting on the soil of the American government. All right. So then you don't just get up and go in there because the Constitution provides that the government of Liberia has all right because of relations between nations to, give property out to, a foreign government so that they can do their diplomatic activities in there. So that can be the third party, the third person that has right to ownership of property in Liberia. Because if you, went through the government and you say you want to open your mission, near the capital and the government agrees and the government gives you a piece of property, that property is perpetually yours until you further decide, say, okay, we're going to move our mission. When you move your mission, the property is to the government of Liberia. All right, so these are some property issues. This land shall not be transferred or otherwise conveyed to any other party or used for any other purpose except upon the express permission of the government of Liberia. So that's just about it, right? So for Article 22, there is jam-packed. It's a lot of information you need. The first one, as we said, your right as a citizen of Liberia to own property. Second is you must be aware that even you own property, when minerals are found on that property, on the property, or whatever you have waterway around that property, minerals found is not yours, it belongs to the government. The third one is non-citizen missionaries or people of goodwill who want to buy a piece of property, they can do so and construct anything they want to do in that place. So they have right to buy property. All right. And when they do that, the only condition in there is whenever they are leaving, when their mission is finished, whatever they do, they're not going to destroy it. They're not going to give it to somebody to say, oh, this and that. Maybe they can do some goodwill, right? But they say you can transfer this property as cheap to government. So it doesn't mean that you can give it out. The fact the wordings are so strong here, when property is cheap to government, it doesn't mean that, okay, because somebody being serving you, so you can give the property to them. Now, the critical issue would be then that, okay, I'm a Liberian now. I work for this benevolent institution, and they decide to be good to me, and they decide to give me this property. What happens? Do they have a way? Because they have right to a property. Can they give me the property? This question, this constitution didn't say that. It's a hypothetical situation I'm raising here. All right. So in short, the property should escheat to the government of Liberia if the people were leaving, and that's a good clause that you can throw in other factors and have a debate. But indeed, that's a key issue in there. And lastly, on this section is how the Republic may, on the basis of reciprocity, convey the property. So the United States government, the embassy accredited that you had a German embassy. I don't know the detail of any of those embassies, how they got them. Whether the government of the day even know how these people work about this thing, or whether they even ask questions, that one that's my business. I'm not a government official. Right, but what we're saying here is the government has a right to give property to those persons to do diplomatic activities. So why if the American government wanted to build a sub-embassy in Lofa County? They have a right. All they have to do, the government has to give them that piece of property that they want. All right. So diplomatic activity is not just about the mission. So it's a diplomatic activity. Diplomatic activity could be anything. All right. Within government, the mission's own agenda. So these are key issues for Article 22. Okay, so on Article 22, the two key takeaway here is property rights and natural resources. And on the natural resources, be aware that you don't have a right today as a private citizen, as a Liberian. And on the property rights, we say, well, you as a citizen, you can have right to property, and nations, benevolent institutions also have right to property. Diplomatic missions, one or two diplomatic activity also have right to a piece of property. Those are important takeaway. All right. So if you're doing constitutional law exam or you're doing some public test or public stuff and the kind of question come about, who have right to own property in Liberia, you don't just blanketly say Liberians. Okay. So we have Article 23. What Article 23? In Article 23, the summary of this we're going to be looking at is property owned before marriage. Now, this is very important for marriage couples or people who are preparing to get married. What happened with property? You get a piece of property. Mary get a piece of property. Mary worked for years. Mary hasn't been married, and this stage she's going to get married. She get houses, she get cars, she get other different kind of property. She get land and all over the place. Now she's married to this other poor man who probably don't have nothing. What happens? What the law says about that? Is that true that when Mary married to John, and Mary's property is for John because they are married? This is why it's good so that you listen to all of these discussions, because you never know where you can learn a lot of lessons that can benefit you for the rest of your life, right? So in this case, we're going to see what the Constitution says. Even at divorce, what happened? Is it because we get property when I divorce, the woman just take all the property? Or the man say, me pa, with all the thing, my father giving it to you. What happens? All right. Or the two of them get property. What can they do? Do you transfer? Do you have a right to transfer property? So this section, Article 23 of the Liberian Constitution, addresses property before, during, and after marriage or after marriages. So everybody who live in Liberia, some way, somehow, they have gotten married, they're planning to get married, or they have divorced, or they're planning to divorce. So what are the issues that you have that you need to know? All right. Now, this is the first primary law that everybody has to depend on. You must take this first and look into it, and then before you go to other laws. But we don't have the time to go into other property law. This is a very big subject. At the property law at the University of Liberia, is a very good but difficult course. All right. But for purposes of discussion here, let's see the wordings of the Constitution, right? What it says. Article 23 says, person possesses the property which a person possesses at the time of marriage, or which may afterwards be acquired as a result of one's own labors, shall not be held for or otherwise applied to the liquidation of the debts or other obligations of the spouse, whether contracted before or after marriage. None shall the property which by law is to be secure to a man or a woman be alienated or be controlled by that person's spouse, save by free and voluntary consent. All right. So, as I said, this is a very interesting and day-to-day human involving article of the Liberian Constitution. All right. Let's look at it for property before marriage. That's why it's always good when people get married. They get counseling, they talk to lawyers, they know what to do, look at the background, say, okay, I get A, B, C, D property, I get cars, I get $10 million in my account, I get houses, I get land, and so I'm coming to get married. What happened? So when I'm married, what happened? Is it what? 1 + 1 is 1, right? That's our common saying. Because I get married, anything the man get for me, or anything I get for this person, is that what the law is saying? No, the law is not saying that. Before marriage, the separate of you, John Brown and Mary, before they get married, anything they ever had individually is for them individually. When you get married, people have debts, right? Okay, I'm owing the banks, I'm owing some Susu club, I'm owing some other parties have other issues coming about. What happens? except with the consent of your partner, that person is not obligated to you. Except you use all of your good relationship, love, and affairs, and want to get debt free collectively after discussing all of the inner part of these things, you want to be debt free, then you can decide to say, you know what, honey, I get this problem. This is my issue. How can you help me with this thing? If your honey said, no, man, I mean, I didn't expect you. My money not for that purpose. You can't fight her. You can't quarrel her. All right? And you can use that situation to, it's not a ground for divorce because the Constitution says none should be applied for the benefit of the other person without their consent. So this is a very good thing that people always need to look at. But also, mind you, John Brown loves Mary so much from the onset of their relationship because he have houses, he have cars, and say whatever. And this is also the place where, social discussion, women can sort of be very careful too and play their role. And if for any reason, John Brown, the courtship, John Brown decided voluntarily to give, some of his property to Mary because he loves Mary. They go through all of the formalities as to property, how to own property, how to see, and survey the land and give it to Mary. They are not even married yet, but out of his own free will, if he does that, the property actually belongs to Mary. Even after divorce, he cannot take that property back. I think there are some cases we have heard about, right? And you may have heard something like that. Some big name we have heard, back half or somebody, and because the relationship went sour, so you know why you have to give my property back. You can't do that. That's why it's always good you consult your lawyer. If somebody is giving you a gift, if somebody is giving you a property to own, you must always, the good time is that, the bad time, you always envisage that because you are all human beings, right? So basically, Article 23 is telling you that the property, let me see what time we have here because I think we're talking a lot. Okay, 52 minutes, oh my God, time could fly. Okay, so anyway, we will just run after these issues, right? And it's always important that we open our mind and don't pretend like we don't know what is going on around us. Okay? So when you have these situations, find a lawyer and be on the safe side. Don't say that, oh, let the love is good and all of these things. When it comes to property, because the law speaks, the Constitution speaks about how to go about it, you must also be aware of that. So basically, that's why it is. And always seek a lawyer. Or what we discuss, just giving you an eye opening. You have a piece of property. So when there's a divorce, what happens? When there's a divorce, now while you're living together, there might be property acquired in that period. During the period of the marriage, any property acquired, it belongs to the two of you. Okay? When you marry, from day one to the time the marriage ends, any property acquired before divorce, those property must be in contention. The court must make a decision who gets what and what. Those things have to be discussed. It's not voluntary. After the divorce, whoever go their way, whatever they get belongs to them after the court decision. All right. Or sometimes people can be very mature. People sit down, okay, you know what, we can't marry any longer. Situation is not holding. Rationalize it, and because you got property together, you say, okay, John Brown, look, you know what, take this property. I don't want it because you get children for me. Carry this thing. Or because of whatever, I live in with people. I don't want to say, I don't want contention yet. You carry it. I can find my way out in life. So these are all decisions that will require a lawyer involvement. So sorry, this is the summer is here. People do a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's the basic thing here. Now, under Article 23B, it says the legislature shall enact laws to govern the devolution of estate and establish rights of inheritance and descent for spouses of both statutory and customary marriages, so as to give adequate protection to surviving spouses. All right. Now, what I said, there are a lot of laws. You marry a woman, and they've been married for some time. What happened? What do you do next? Okay. What should happen? What the law says? What percentage must we get? Every woman, I know that for fact. When you marry a man, you get property. That woman has entitlement for 30% or whatever. I don't know, maybe the law has been changed, I don't know. I've been out of Liberia for some time, so I wouldn't know exactly what the law is, but the Constitution says this issue must be out for discussion. You don't just say this part is not part of this thing. There's a need to have this discussion. In short, I'm telling you, there are laws on the books. That's why lawyers should always be involved. All right, what is responsible for the woman? You got children. What should be there for the children? The children interest. All of those things have to be a factor in the devolution, in the distribution process. So the court have a major role to play here. All right. Article 24 says time is fast spent, and okay. Article 23 we talk about property right. Article 24 talking about protection from expropriation. Expropriation is taking property from its owner for public use. That's something, in short, we're not going to waste our time. Article 24 will deal with it because time is fast spent. When you have a piece of property, let's say, for example, we saw people building roads in Liberia, right? The government said they have to enlarge the road, they have to expand the road. So because the government wants to do development, they have all right to take the property. But what the government supposed to do? Government just go and say, oh, you move. The government must first and foremost evaluate the people's property. If they want to break it down because they want to expand the road or the particular thing they want to do, maybe there is some other development they want to carry out, what needs to be done is to evaluate the value, to get a value of the people's property and pay them off before you do the destruction. We saw a lot of things during Ellen time. Maybe bro get to certain places, you just break down people places and all of those stuff. Even if people have occupied certain property, and for some reason they want to take action, the primary reason for a government is to provide. Oh my God, a lot of things going on around here. If there is any reason, all right, for government to go and just, destroy property because they want to do something, or they want to clean the city, or they want to do something, the best thing you can do is always have a better approach how you deal with your citizens. All right, and that brings about the peaceful coexistence of people, society, civilized society. You don't just go about, okay, the people who told them to move, they don't want to move, so we're going back, okay, and bulldozer and go and break the houses down. You break the houses down, you don't do anything after that. Simply because sometimes there's inner discussion. You have some family member, somebody somewhere connected to somebody in power, they want to go and destroy, and they just go and destroy. In the same vein, nobody has any right to go and occupy anybody's property. These are all issues surrounding property. We can sit and discuss all of these details. The best place you can do when you have a land property issue, you find a lawyer so they can be able to advise you. But important takeaway from these things is the government, Article 24. Nobody should just get up and say they're going to take a private person's property. Even though government want to use a place for a general good of the people, you don't just get and say, get the people out. You had a discussion with them continuously, reach a common ground. Whether you had to pay them some money, you pay them some money so they can relocate and they can go there and do this thing. All right. So that's what Article 24 is all about here. There are more detail in there, but that's why we can save it because of time. Okay. Article 25 speaks about contract, obligation of government, to handle contracts. Normally, there are contractual agreement people between parties. They enter contract, and when you enter contract, sometimes things go wrong. What happened? Who is responsible? Who can handle these contract laws? Article 25. Let me see if I can quickly read this. Article 25 says. We would have read a lot on 24, right? Reasons for such appropriation are given that there might be. Okay, that's all about things. Before you take people property, all the things you need to know. Article 24 talk about that. And Article 25 says obligation of contract shall be guaranteed by the Republic, and no laws shall be passed with which might impair this right. All right. So when people enter contract, it is expected that the enforceability of a contract is paramount. So how you go about doing that? It is the sole right of government to control this aspect of contract. There was something I was figuring out what I could link that to the whole CPP contract and all of this stuff. But contract, you normally have the element is right. Somebody offers something right, and there's a consideration and an acceptance. So, but after all the procedural steps and something goes wrong, what happened? the government as an institution, as a body, has a right to handle this contract to ensure enforceability. So that's why people go to court, and for the court to compare, the enforcement of the contract. So by and large, government through the Justice Ministry should be able to get involved in ensuring that people enter contract and there is a violation of terms and conditions. Those violations will have to go to court. And how you go about it? Yeah, first and foremost, just learn that government has an obligation of entering all contract matters, and the best place to do it is in the court. Okay, and Article 26. This is our last segment for the day, and we're going to a little bit above that. Article 26 says, I want to read this one. This one has a very important voice in there. Oh my God. Let me see quickly. Oh my God, what is this? What can I get this? Article 26, right, of the Liberian Constitution. What does it say? Article 26 of Chapter 3, what it says. Article 26 says, where any persons or any association alleges that any of the rights granted under this Constitution. Now, be aware from Chapter 3, from Article 11, right? From 11 to 26, there are enumerated rights spelled out there. Enumerated rights. All of the things that you talk about is being named. You should be aware of that. The right to free speech, the right to education, the right to property, the right to privacy, all of those things that are on here. Now, this is a key. This is where you hold government responsible. This is the ultra-virus administrative restriction. Government should not infringe on the right of people. If government did that, what is supposed to do? This Article 26 addresses that. So it's where any persons or any association alleges that any of the rights granted under this Constitution or any legislation or directives are constitutionally contravene, that person or association may invoke the privilege and benefit of court direction, order, or rate, including a judgment of unconstitutionality. All right. So you can issue a rate. You can go to the court when the government violates your right. Do not sit and say, "Oh, me, I don't know what to do," and whatever that government, no, government should not. This is the law. Government should not infringe on the fundamental right of any citizen. If you don't know that, know that. So the best you can do, this thing I spoke somewhere, the people can arrest me because of what I said. They should not arrest you. The government feel that your statement is in violation of free speech, the best they can do is to get you to court. Go to the court, get to the court, and say why they feel or they believe that you are in violation. Oh my God, you are in violation of free speech. So basically, this law is telling you you have a right to go to the court, all right, and direct the court to issue an order or a rate, including unconstitutional, seek judgment for constitutional violation. That means you can just come in the Constitution, chapter A, B, C, D. Or the person say, "Oh, my client got this," and so the person is in violation of this person. So you go to court and find find remedy. That's why it says here already, including a judgment of unconstitutionality. And anyone injured by an act of the government or any person acting under its authority, whether in property, contract, tort, or otherwise, shall have the right to bring suit for appropriate redress. The same thing we're saying here, right? All such suit brought against the government shall originate in a claims court. Now, this is another key issue. Do we have a claim court in Liberia? I don't know. I've not been in Liberia for some time, so I wouldn't know whether there is a claim court. So there's anything that is in violation of this provision of the Constitution or these provisions, there are remedy. Get a lawyer. The lawyer will advise you best. But by and large, the important thing is be aware that the government neither any entity. You can't say Minister of Finance, you can't say Minister of Justice, you can't say police or anybody. They have no right to violate your fundamental right as enumerated, as named under this provision of the Constitution. All right. So, claim code. Appeals from judgment of the claim code shall lie directly to the Supreme Court. So that's an issue. So there should be a claim code that will listen to all of your concern regarding these basic rights. If there's anything that's going wrong, the best you can do is take an appeal from the claim code to the Supreme Court. Okay, so basically these are the issues we have, and next time we're going to be looking at citizenship, right? That's another interesting aspect. We just talk about dual citizenship. So chapter 4 talk about citizenship. So Friday we'll commence with discussing the citizenship. But all we have been talking about today, we've been looking at the ultra-virus administrative action. People taking action contrary from what the law says, they can be taken to court. It doesn't matter whether that Joe Weir himself or that the Chief Justice or whoever it is or some kind of administrative person, because they feel they're in authority, they can do anything, you have a right. Superintendent doing something against the people of the country or the countryside, and they feel he's the God for them, they have a right to challenge that superintendent for violating your basic rights. All right? So we talk about protection from expropriation. Government has a right to take any property, but they should pay you for it before they take your property. It is stated there. Yes, so basically these are provisions, and we close on the basic fundamental right. There are some other rights, like in the American city, there are unenumerated rights, and maybe we'll find a time to see whether we can name some of those things. Why we talk about abortion? It's abortion. Abortion is not specifically named here, but today other countries are crying for that. They said, is there a need? Is there a law where the government try to control abortion, stopping people from, carrying out abortion? But those are not enumerated issues here. So we have read the fundamental rights. It starts from Article 11 to Article 26. So in the perimeter of Article 11 and 26, you have all of your rights as a human being that you should allow you to live freely. They are spelled out between these articles. Article 11, under chapter 3, Article 11 to 26. All right. Keep reading these things. So that you when you have free time, you don't have no book to read. So now you just pick up your local constitution. If the government has not divided up for you, find one and begin to read. The place where you have doubt, you find a lawyer, you ask questions, make yourself knowledgeable. So maybe somebody can arrest you and they're going to say, hey, officer, I know my right. You don't just come to my house, you come on one kind and seize thing here. No, you're not supposed to do. Where's the rate? Where's the warrant? We discuss all of this time, just throwing light on a few things, okay? So you don't just get out and somebody has alleged and then police officer come to your house and want to take things away, take your property away. He said, no, officer, wait. Do you know what you're here for? Do you have warrant before you enter my house? Even the officer said will come to himself or herself and say, is it the person here? The person knows something small. I'm going to sit here and just let me go back, or let me call my superior and tell them, say, the person raising a very serious issue. We don't have a warrant to enter her house and go find what we say she has. So basically that's how we want to end today's program, and it was good to have had you. It is important that we have some discussions that brought about your joy. I think this is something that we should always stand by. And somebody is saying something. This is what my own mayor wants to say. Yeah, great initiative. Watching from Salala. My man in Salala eating all this stuff. Water. We needed information. You should have provided some information. They said there was some country devil in Salala that took into custody or into their Zobu or their Annaporo bush or whatever, and they took the judge. These are some issues that are always of concern, and we don't know whether the government can take interest in this thing, because it's like, if you had, now this is a sad talk, right, but it's also the same constitutional issue. You have the civic authority, the civil authority, meaning people must go to court when they have grievances, when people disagree, how to take an appeal from the judgment and all of this stuff. But if if a judge, a magisterial judge, rendered a decision in the countryside and what is it, and you had and you had and you had and you had people of the traditional people, they decided to take certain action. What do you do? Can the traditional people go and seize a judge and take him away? That should be a serious issue, even for the Liberal National Bar. A judge is being taken away. There's a news out there. People publish those information. It should be a discussion. It's like when society is transgressing, those are the things that happen. So when the things happen, the traditional people must either have a meeting, or government and the Internal Affairs Ministry should be able to tell the people, say, look, you know why? We're running a civilized government. If you have any issue, you probably have the Ministry of Internal Affairs, call them and tell them your grievances. Or there's a court decision, you're not satisfied with it. How you want to handle it traditional way, you don't want to go the civilized way. How are you going to do it? I think government entity, the Internal Ministry should be able to handle those things. Not to go. Suppose the judge is not part of your poorer society. Maybe you come from the southeastern side. They don't believe in the porous thing. And the man is serving as a judge. You go, you're arresting, carrying your bush. You're going to initiate him or what? Now nothing has happened. Right? We haven't all. When that kind of a major thing happen, it is well expected that even the Minister of Information will be able to come into those things. The finality of those things should be also public for public view, because people who are watching and following governance, those are things that somebody will just catch quickly. A judge is arrested by the traditional, devil, so the country devil, right? Country devil came and seized this man, took the man away. Whether it was in the night, whether it was broad day, the country devil went in the courtroom or whatever. So all of the details not known. So Moses we want to hear from you personally from those things. All right. So we have another comment here. Say great job, and this is Mesha Emerson Hodges. Emerson, we want you guys to ask all of the questions. The law is things have to happen before the law is put into place. The law by itself is not harmful, is not in contest, it's just there. On the certain thing happen before people start making research of the law and apply. So we appreciate people also coming here to make comment. This is Mesha again said, thanks for the info. That's good. Okay, following. This is Mesha, thank you for following. We've been watching. So having said all of those things, it's good that you've been with us. We're going to a little more 30 minutes into our time. But it was good to have you until Friday. We'll be here. We'll be talking about citizenship. And just for the preliminary, what is citizenship? Who is a citizen of Liberia? Now you're talking about the dual citizenship. We might be looking at that too. Is there a dual citizenship in Liberia? Does the Constitution allow dual citizenship? Or can Liberia exist with a dual citizenship without the Constitution giving the super directive to the lawmaker to do what they did? How do you amend the Constitution? So we might discuss all of these little things on Friday, but this is how we want to end our today's discussion. Thank you so much. Until next time, this is James Johnson. It's been a pleasant, wonderful day. Until Friday, I'll see you. Bye.